Well, season 2 of Silo is officially over, and I finally know how to react when people tell me just go read the book.
Please state your name.
'Tis I, Sir Igor the Geek, father to Evan, spouse to Rina, founder of the Geekademy, the deepest of the divers. And I invite you to deep dive with me into Silo Season 2 Episode 10. Welcome everyone, I'm your detective host Igor, and today we're going to deep dive into Silo. Season 2 finale finally gave us a lot of interesting answers and added some more questions. I don't know about you, but I'm especially happy about understanding what is the point of the pitches in the beginning of every episode, in the intro sequence. For the past 9 weeks we were discussing each and every episode, and every time we tried to dissect it into each and every storyline. We had the rebellion, we had the Lucas Kyle story with the safeguard, we have Juliette and Solo in Silo number 17, and today we're gonna talk about each and every one of them once again and finally get some interesting conclusions. But before we begin, as usual, I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon and on YouTube. Your donations is what make this channel possible. I'm so honored in welcoming a new beacon of light to our community, Ashley Williams. Thank you so much for your support, and even two new champions, Margaret Poteet and Lindsay Janes. Thank you so much for your support, and let's dive in. Just to remind you, this is not a recap. I'm not gonna go chronologically through every event of this episode. I'm gonna present to you my ideas and some of the interesting moments that I think you may have missed. And I want to start with the rebellion. This is the first storyline that came to its logical conclusion in this episode. And I actually wanted to start from Silo 17, and specifically from Juliette's monologue when she talks about, the divide and conquer. When the ginger one is angry at the eater one, she's basically saying to them, maybe you should snap out of it and be angry at those MFers who actually built this place and put us in it, with all the lies and all of the discomforts that are being included in this process. I don't know if it's just me, but it kind of feels like this is the life we live in every country. Basically, like, there is always the left, there's always the right, and we are always pretty much ready to tear each other throats. And who benefits from it? Usually the people at the top. And I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists. I'm not like putting my tinfoil hat and I think that everybody is evil, blah blah blah. But us being ready to tear each other throats is pretty much what stops us usually seeing how corrupt and how incompetent are people that basically their job is to rule and govern our societies. And the reason I put this in the beginning of the rebellion, because we're gonna see it here during the rebellion. Anyway, moving forward, first of all, as usual, I want to give hats off to everybody who is making these small details about, this world and how real it is. And even like here, Knox and Shirley, they basically prepared two different plans for to present it to Bernard to basically like simulate this strategic meeting that they had. Like, we have this plan, this is the attack plan, this is the generator plan. You, Bernard, there, don't listen to us because it's very, very secretive, and if you're gonna find out, it's gonna be bad for us. So I like the plan, but I still found maybe some kind of moments that I was a bit skeptical about them. I am excited about this episode, but I think it was not the best one. I think episode 9 was the best episode of this season. So, like, for example, this moment when Bernard tells them to take all of the raiders and attack the barricades and basically take the leaders and take everybody there. Like, what was stopping you until this moment? If you have this ability, if you have this enough force to basically achieve this goal, you couldn't just do this yesterday, and if you would be victorious, because they wouldn't be ready for that. Now they are ready for that. Maybe like the only thing that explains to me this his obsession with the key, maybe he didn't get like an approval or a directive from the algorithm, and that's why he was waiting for a signal, like this is the time to act, when he understood that they are about to blow up the generator, so they have to act right now. And this is why they were waiting, even though they had all of the necessary force and all of the necessary tools to actually crush the rebellion in a couple of hours. Anyway, just something that I was not very happy about. So here, like, we can remember this girl, she was presented to us many times in season 1 and season 2, something is gonna happen with her, and right now we see that she also is a part of the rebellion. And the message that Billings basically gave to Sims in the previous episode, it was for people who can be loyal to him. And she was kind of loyal to him, but you know, she was trying to basically protect herself. But now we've seen her already like getting the message in episode 7. By the way, you can see all the writings on the top of the screen, so you will know what episode are you looking at right now. And she's seen like the message about Juliette, and it's a lie, and IT is hiding everything, and she knows that it's a lie because she was there when Juliette was apprehended, and she knows that Juliette didn't ask to go out, so she was already boiling from the inside. And now we can see that she's basically helping. She's helping with the plan to blow up the stairs and to lock all of the raiders on the lower levels. But it didn't work 100% because when they're moving the bombs to the stairs, we can see that, you know, the timer here is basically dropped, so they're not going to be able to blow it up and save everybody, because every rebellion has a cost, has a price. No matter how pure your intentions, no matter how divine and great your goal are, you should be ready to pay that price, whether it's sacrificial, whether it's something else. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. So here, like for example, this moment also kind of felt a little bit off. I mean, it's been explained logically. Once again, as I told you, every rebellion should present its sacrifice, and it's something that has to be in the story, but it also felt like this character just didn't have any more place. Like we've talked about it since episode 1. I was like talking about the doctor, and I was saying like he has to play some role because right now he basically useless. And then he was a doctor for the rebellion, but after the rebellion, what he's gonna do? So probably, you know, like the storytellers who's behind this show really didn't know what to do with the actor anymore. So he sacrifices him hell and he blows up, and then he decides to sacrifice himself. But you know, it was supposed to be an emotional moment, but I didn't feel anything. Here it was like, yeah, okay, sad. Anyway, this guy clearly doesn't know how to throw a bottle. I mean, you have props in Hollywood, something that you throw at a person and it's not gonna hurt anybody, but he was like throwing to the moon or something like this. Anyways, it was just a bit funny for me. Also, this moment, I wasn't buying this in the beginning. Like, you should feel just a little bit appreciation. You still have some kind of an egotistical side in yourself. Every human being has. And when she discovers that Walker basically betrayed everybody to save her life and to be with her, she reacted like, get the fuck away from me, and so on and so on. So my first impression was not buying it, but then I thought about it a little bit more, and yeah, well, once again, this feeling, this thought, and she's obviously somebody who has like a very strong superego, some strong ideals, learning that everybody is in trouble because of her, even though she was not the one responsible for it, but everybody was sacrificed to save her. Yeah, it can be a very devastating moment, and it can trigger a lot of anger. Now, this moment also shows me that the plan, you know, the rebellion plan, has a lot of ifs, even though like whether Bernard sees her or doesn't see her doesn't really matter. Okay, the breach is still gonna be exploded. But once again, Walker kind of understood already Bernard, and we have seen his personality, especially when he basically blew Walker's cover in front of everybody. This is really petty behavior. This is like really vengeful behavior. This is somebody who is like finds happiness in somebody else's sorrow. So yeah, obviously he would never miss a chance to, you know, to gloat in front of Walker how he's victorious, and thanks to, you know, him being the genius who basically like blackmailed her, and so on and so on and so on. So in this moment, like once again, it's a good writing technique. I love when a TV show doesn't present us Deus Ex Machina, and it's actually something that was presented to us before. For example, the hand gestures. When she's talking to Bernard and she's telling him like, you really didn't know that we had a completely different conversation while we were talking with our voices for your benefit. We were actually using our hand gestures to give a completely different message. But this is something we have seen already in episode 6. They were using the hand gestures and the hand signals in a fight. Once again, the only thing that I'm kind of struggling with, it's not a secret. It's not something that's super hidden. And Bernard, from all people, should have known that they are using hand gestures and they are using hand signals. Once again, it's feeling like they had to nerf the bad guy a little bit so the good guys will be able to win. So far we have seen Bernard being, like the master guy behind every plan, always a couple of steps in front of everybody else, and here, him missing that kind of a point, that kind of a crucial point, once again felt like a little bit of a letdown, story-wise. Anyway, like this moment also felt a little bit important, but I have no idea who Murphy is when she's throwing all of the badges and he understands that the whole sheriff department is basically betrays him. We can see that the camera is focusing on Murphy. I tried to remember if we had some kind of a Murphy there. No, as far as I was able to find, we didn't see anybody whose name is Murphy. It would be interesting if it was like a sheriff from season 1 or, like a Juliette's badge here would be appropriate. Also, like it would be way more symbolic and would have a more emotional impact. Look, once again, it's not a bad episode. I'm not here to bash it. I think it's a great episode. I think it's a great finale. Everything was done perfectly good. But in the rebellion, every time in this storyline, when I felt like the creators wanted to achieve an emotional impact on the audience, it was not working for me. Like this moment was also supposed to be a moment when you jump out of the chair and you're like, yeah, let's go, our guys are gonna win, yeah, we're gonna show them. I didn't feel absolutely anything here in this moment, and it was a bit disappointing. So here, and this is another prize for the rebellion that I think is more important to talk about. Like at some point we understand that there is another rebellion inside of the rebellion. There is a plan by Knox basically and Shirley, probably more by Knox as far as we have seen through this season. And after that, as soon as the chaos erupts, and this is something I was talking about many times in my videos, as soon as chaos erupts, there are gonna be people that gonna use it in their advantage. There's gonna be looting, there's gonna be robbing, there's gonna be unaliving, there's gonna be grape. Everything is gonna happen because this is what happens during the chaos. And if you are starting a rebellion, once again, no matter how pure and decent and great are your intentions, you need to take this into consideration. As soon as you start a chaos, and agents of chaos are gonna show themselves. They are waiting for that. This is where they live and this is where they prosper. And this is what happens here with Patrick Kennedy. He is the agent of chaos here. He wants to go outside because he has seen this image and now he wants to leave, even not knowing that he's probably gonna kill everybody. Not probably, he's definitely gonna kill everybody. Once again, it's something that I'm seeing there. I'm not saying 100% this is what the creators put there as a message, but once again, if I notice something and I'm thinking about something, I'm sharing it with you. Because for some unclear reason for me, you're kind of interested in this. Yes, moving forward, we can see that no matter, by the way, if the rebellion would happen or wouldn't happen, at some point Juliette appears and shows them the message. It's not safe, do not come out. The only thing that changes here is that Bernard is already no longer in control. I think it's gonna be important somehow, but once again, if Bernard would be in control and Juliette would have shown and, present this message, still everything would happen in the same way. People would start, chaos, and there's gonna be a new rebellion. Bernard wouldn't be able to control this. Anyway, we're moving forward to the next storyline, the story of Solo. He's not really solo anymore in all of the senses of this word. When he was first presented to us, he was called Solo because he's all alone. He is by himself. And we kind of get a lot of more glimpses through his history. Like he remembers the world, he remembered that Solo, his shadow, his father's shadow, was the one to put him in this vault because his parents were doing everything to save their child. This was their first priority. Probably with every parent it would be the same. So if you remember Solo, we have seen him in episode 1, so he was the one to basically lock our guy in the vault. And here in this moment you can see that basically Solo wearing the same clothes as his father. Even in this moment when he's seen his reflection in the mirror, they kind of look the same. Even the costumes, pretty much the color here, it's being like more to this side and straight here and more to this side and straight here. It's the similarity between them. Once again, the connection between a father and the son being presented to us in this cinematic way. It makes me happy. I love those kind of things. I love those small moments. And of course, as usual, we always talk here about small details. And even though it's blurry, we can see that there are portraits of his parents and of him when he was a kid. Here we can see it once again. This is very, very blurry. I'm so sorry about this. It's once again, it's the camera's focus. It's not me. And once again, it's their image, the image of his father, the image of his mother. Everybody who is making this world to be as alive as it is, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If there is a small chance that somebody who was actually behind creating the props and every small details that we have seen and analyzed through this season, and if by chance you are watching, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for making this world as amazing as it is. Now here, also we understand that his mom worked in judicial, and if you remember, we have seen in the previous episode that both judicial and IT had two different pipes that been moved towards them. So there's one that was probably some kind of a backup power line for the IT, and then when the mechanics launched their rocket and they shut off the generator, we have seen that only IT had power. So what was the purpose of the pipeline towards the judicial level? So we're gonna discover this in this episode. And as much as I didn't receive any emotional impact in the Rebellion storyline, the whole story with Solo and Juliette was hitting every time on the spot, especially one of these moments here when he's putting his lunchbox in the same place where Hope was taking it from in the previous episode. So he puts it back. This is obviously the same table. He wants to keep his family's home intact. This is his memory, and he is still a child. You remember him saying, they are younger than I am right now. This is something that I'm sometimes thinking. I'm 37 years old. I definitely don't feel like that. I still feel like if somebody is saying to me they are 40 years old, I'm like, oh my God, you're so grown up. And I'm 3 years before that. So yeah, I can understand Solo here. And once again, this is a glimpse into his psychology. He's still a little kid inside of him. This is probably why I'm still a little kid inside of me, and this is why I'm doing YouTube for a living. Hopefully it's gonna become a living one day. And this moment was very emotional for me because this is the logical and very good conclusion to Solo's storyline in this season. First time we met him, he was a Solo. He was somebody else, and this somebody else was completely alone. He didn't have any friends, he didn't have anyone. During the season, we discovered that first of all, he's definitely not Solo, in the technical sense of this word, because he's somebody else. He's actually, Russell's son. But also right now we can finally say that he is also not alone in every sense of this word, because he has a friend. And Juliet's reaction here when she is getting emotional, I think a lot of us had the same face expression at this moment when she realizes that he risked himself and he conquered his fear because he was really afraid of the water for her, to protect her. Obviously, she's very moved by it, and so I think a lot of us in the audience. Great moment, and finally, Solo is not alone. He's not by himself. He has a friend who is willing to do everything she can to come back to him and be together with him. So another interesting thing in the Solo storyline, that we finally are covering this question that we had, about the first episode of this season. Until this moment, we got an answer for almost everything that the sheriff said in the first episode, but the only thing we didn't discover is what was Russell telling them that they were thinking he may be lying. And he was telling them basically that, it's safe to go outside because they were able to block the safeguard. So does it mean that Russell, being the head of IT, still didn't know that there is something that's killing people out there even when the safeguard is not working? We have seen that this is why they were able to live, and this is why they were able to survive more than usual, because once again, I don't know why, we're gonna discuss it a little bit later, but they still died. So there is still something that kills everybody outside. So he was either lying or he didn't know. Anyway, let's talk about the safeguard. So we discovered that there's this safeguard procedure that is probably active in every silo, maybe, in the exception of the silo 51, who is probably the original silo or something like this. So his parents were able to stop it, and I'm a bit skeptical because once again, the creators, the founders of the silos, they thought about everything. and they didn't think about hiding this information about the safeguard from the people, or preventing them from blocking it. If you have this, like the last resort, the safeguard, something's gonna kill everybody, this is your last resort, your last chance to stop whatever those tiny evil people are doing against your plans of the ruling class or something like this, and then you don't stop them from just blocking it. Well, yeah, obviously Solo's mom died here, of course, but still, this is something that's not gonna prevent them from stopping, killing everybody there. People are gonna sacrifice themselves to save 10,000 people. That's very simple. So yeah, like his mom didn't come back, and that my parents did, it worked, blah blah blah, and the people went outside, they didn't die, we covered this already, they didn't die at first. And we can see the plants here. Once again, they all look like a seashell. We're seeing seashells here everywhere, like in the intro, obviously, in the legacy room, there are a lot of seashells. So right, once again, seashell somehow is connected here. So we understand also that the safeguard is a pipe, and it has enough poison there to kill 10,000 people. So once again, how you are able to stop it, and why did the founders and the creators and the engineers of the silo didn't think that somebody will do something in order to stop this murderous pipe that can kill 10,000 people. Yeah, so like they put a cap on it, we can see the plans. Once again, hats off to everybody who's responsible in creating those amazing props, and we can see that, the pipe here in the upper level, and we can see the red line, this is where it goes. And here we can see that it's also on the level 14, where is the judicial apartments, where there's the judicial sector there. And since we're talking to Safeguard, we cannot finish this conversation without talking about Lucas Kyle, who was behind understanding everything. In the previous episode, he got a directive from the algorithm, from something that stays and lives in the tunnel below. And basically this directive is still a secret from us. They're still not showing it to us, even though it can be like basically we're about to kill everybody. But something tells me it's something else, otherwise they wouldn't hide it from us. They would just reveal it. So basically he tells this to Bernard, and if he hears it, we're all gonna be dead. So I think the biggest question for me right now, if the only thing that motivates Lucas right now is to postpone the death, the imminent death of everybody. Because like after that, when he's saying it's true, and Bernard is basically shocked that it's true, and this is why we're gonna quit, I quit and Meadows quit, something happened there. He was told something that's not been told to us yet. And it has to be connected somehow to a fact that the silo, or the forces that control the silo, basically gave up on the silo. Like in this moment, when Bernard is stopping the rebellion, he checks his key and he sees that there's no message, so he is like, he's relieved. Because usually when there's something that there is to know, because the algorithm can know everything. If you remember a couple of episodes ago, basically like 2-3 episodes ago, when the mechanical launched a rocket, the algorithm knew it right away in the same second, before the janitorial or whatever else. So they have all of the tools. So this algorithm would have known, obviously, and probably knows about the hand gestures, and they knew they have a different plan. But it didn't tell anything to Bernard. Like here, Lucas tells to Common, sorry to Sims, that he was thinking like Bernard made a mistake thinking that the key doesn't glow because there's nothing to worry about. It doesn't glow, it doesn't light it up because it's over. So once again, it's connected somehow to this directive that Lucas got. But what does he mean when he says it's over? Everybody's gonna die in a couple of minutes, in a couple of hours, in a couple of days. And the only thing that motivates Lucas right now is he wants to spend more time with his closed ones, with his mom. But maybe all of people's memory are gonna be reset. But maybe, like killing is really the last resort, and still the algorithm didn't have enough of the reasons to boost it and start it. But there is something that's gonna happen, and maybe it's connected to the memory loss. Once again, also like Lucas, when he was talking to his mom and he was talking about his first memory, remembering him being like under the age of 2 and looking at his mom's hands, and they were like so big for him because he was a child, obviously. And maybe this is why he thinks about it, because he knows that in a day or two or in a couple of hours, he's gonna forget everything, and he's gonna be reset like, a new human being. He's gonna be recycled, like we're talking about Severance here or something. This is just an idea, because once again, if everybody's gonna die in a couple of hours or maybe even a couple of days and you don't see any reason to live anymore, then why stop and why, hide this information from everybody and go on and be, completely like depressed about everything? And if the only thing he heard in the bottom of the tunnel is that if you're gonna tell the secret, we're gonna kill everybody, then keep the secret. Keep living as you used to. Yeah, you know that you can die in any minute and any second, but so as we in this planet, while I'm talking to you, a meteor can hit our Earth and we're all gonna die. So you always live with that knowledge, with that understanding. This is not a reason to give up on everything. Anyway, we're moving on. Like when Sims is asking what's over, he's saying, I cannot tell you, because once again, it's a secret we still didn't discover, and it's something that's been kept from us until season 3, probably. And still, with all of my theories, he's not afraid of death. So you can kill me and my mother, he doesn't give a shit anymore. He's like, when he's talking to Shirley here, because it doesn't matter now. It doesn't really matter. Are they all gonna die or are they all gonna forget? I don't know. I would love to know what you think about it. Please write in the comments. So the legacy, he's sending basically Sims to the legacy. See for yourself. Doesn't really give a shit about anything, but he's doing a gesture to Sims, like, you go ahead and see for yourself what's going on. And Sims was given the key from Bernard, and by the way, the code is 552039. And if you remember from previous episodes, like episode 4, when Juliette was looking for the codes, they were all starting with 55. So it's kind of similar. And then in the previous episode, like here I made a mistake, this is episode 9, when Juliette was discovering the codes, she found them in the area of 552032, almost 552039. What does it tell us? It tells us, first of all, this is the same person who is behind every silo, the same engineer, the same architect. Also, maybe it was done in the way that if somebody from the IT, the head of the IT, the closest guy to the ruler class, to the the legacy, the whatever, who is controlling in silo 0 or in silo 51, who is controlling everything, if they have to leave, and we know they all have, like a spare suit for them and their family, if they have to leave and move on to another silo, they will be able to enter the vault in the other silo because the password is the same in every silo. Anyway, we're moving forward to the conversation between Sims and the algorithm here, and it was a very weird way from Sims' part to present himself, like I'm a husband to Camille, a father to Anthony. He's like a knight in in Middle Ages. I am Sir Sims the Great, father to many, mother to nobody. Like, why are you talking like that, dude? Another question is, when Sims is saying he wants to save the silo, algorithm is saying, so do I. But he probably means something completely different. Probably the algorithm wants to save the idea behind the silo. It all feels like some sort of an experiment. Like there is an end goal for it, and the end goal has to be achieved in a very specific way. And saving the silo doesn't mean saving 10,000 people in it. Saving the silo means saving even 2 people that are going to be able to procreate or something like that. Or going to be able to assimilate maybe new population of people that their memory is going to be wiped too. I don't know, but I don't think that the algorithm is lying. It doesn't have to. Even if it has the ability to lie, it doesn't really have to lie in this situation, especially since, Lucas saying that it's all over, there's nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, moving forward, and another interesting question is, why would it say to Sims to leave his family, like leave his wife, inside the vault, and only Camille can stay, and he and his son needs to move. Once again, if you want to wipe everybody's memory, or if you want to wipe the whole population, and you want to leave people to procreate and to start a new population there, then, you should leave more than just a woman there. You need something else there, to create new people. Especially the kid, how is he hurting you? I don't know. Once again, it's a question we're gonna have to wait for season 3 to answer. Now, here in this moment, we talk a little bit about Juliette and her costume. This moment kind of reminded me this story about this little bird, that was flying to the south, but then it got cold and she fell on the ground, and then the cow came and pooped on the bird, and the bird was like, oh my god, this is the worst day of my life, somebody just pooped on me. But the poop was warm, so it kind of saved the bird's life, and the bird was so excited, so it got out of the poop and started to sing from excitement, and then the cat heard it and came in and ate the bird. So basically, like, the moral of the story, not everything that looks like shit is always bad for you. There's not a moral here. If things are working for you, shut up about it. Don't have to share it with everybody. But it's not relevant to our TV show. Like here, when Juliette is so upset about, Solo's father costume being torn apart, she didn't even realize this is probably something that saved her life. And here we can see also that there is another costume. She's looking at the document. This is Gwen Conroy. This is Solo's mother. And we can see that there are measurements, the arm circle, the thigh, the collar, there are measurements for the costume. So there's gonna be another costume for somebody else to leave, and probably the somebody is gonna be Hope. I think it's not a coincidence that this is her name, and she's there. She's not really detrimental right now to the whole story. Like, there is a couple, they have children, and she's just there. She's just being bullied by the angry ginger one. So yeah, it's logical for her mom to call a child Hope. Like, this is a hope for future, obviously. But I think there's a little bit more, and I think we're gonna see her joining Juliette on the outside in season 3. Here we can see, like, once again, as I told you, Juliette, and the fact that the costume was ruined, she had to once again to wear this dragger, the firefighter costume, and you can see it's very leathery, it's very fire protective, and she talks her to Bernard, and Bernard is basically saying, like, it's out of anybody's hands right now. Once again, Bernard probably knew about the safeguard, like, he knows that there's something that's gonna kill everybody, and like, since Russell knew about it, I assume that Bernard knew about it also. And even if he didn't, this is not an information that will completely destroy him. He knows he's not completely in control. And he knows probably that he can assume that there's probably gonna be some safety measures if he's not gonna be able to stop the rebellion. So him being completely destroyed by it, kinda, I don't know, maybe there is something else. Not maybe, there's definitely something else that we still don't know about the Silos algorithm plan. He knows who is responsible behind it. Maybe he's thinking about the algorithm, maybe he's thinking about, once again, somebody else in the Silo 51, like he said it to us in the previous episode. Like, I don't know why, I know the who. He was saying, like, if you remember in episode 9, there are 51 silos, I don't know why they were built. And here he's saying, and he's so angry about everything that he's sacrificed, and he's obviously thinking about here Judge Meadows, the love of his life. He is completely triggered, he wants to destroy everything, he just wants to go out and feel free for a couple of seconds. But Juliette tells him that they can stop this. And they go inside, and there is a fire, and we don't know what's happening to them. And I can place my bets they're both alive. First of all, Juliette is wearing her firefighter costume. It's probably gonna save her. Obviously, she's also the hero, so she's not gonna die. There's gonna be another 2 seasons. Same thing for Bernard. He's the main antagonist, and we didn't see him dying, and if we didn't see him dying, he's not dead. This is the rule of cinema, this is the rule of storytelling. You cannot tell us that the bad guy died without showing it to us and hide it somewhere behind the scenes. We're gonna see Bernard in season 3, I'm 100% sure about it. And now we are going to the most interesting part, obviously, of the episode. Suddenly we are moving to our time, or maybe a little bit later. And here in this moment, I kind of want to go chronologically because I think it's important. This is a small scene, and I want to go through every small detail in the way it was presented to us. So first of all, we are seeing this as some kind of a Capitol tavern. Okay, there is no tavern like that as far as my Google search showed me, but still we are seeing that we are in the Capitol, in the Washington, D.C. We can see the Capitol building in front of us, and it looks like it's our time. We don't see any flying cars, we don't see any weird neon lights that are usually presented to us in the cyberpunk future, TV shows and so on. And we can see that this guy, who is, in my opinion, the architect and the mind behind the silos, he is being checked for radiation with some kind of futuristic device here. So I think it's not 2025, but it's maybe 2035, 2040 or something like this. So it's our near future. There are gonna be a couple of more signs for that. So he's asking if there's ever this security guard, if he's ever seen the color red, something that shows that there's a high level of radiation, and he's saying no. So people are very skeptical. There is this whole skepticism aura about if there is a radiation outside or not. So we're looking like at the Geiger clock or something like this, and we can see that the radiation level is very low. We can see the temperature, the humidity level. He's checking all of the necessary components, and yeah, you can go inside the bar. We can see a lot of caricatures for the presidents. We can see like some newspapers like Nixon is bows out, so this is why Nixon retired. There's also like a newspaper about Reagan winning in the landslide. So yeah, just once again a lot of interesting details, and we get this amazing actress who was behind a lot of different roles, and she is absolutely adorable. She was also a voice in one of my favorite video games, Dreamfall Chapters, like a legendary game, and she's talking to this guy and she's saying that he is serving the good people of Georgia's 15th. Now, as far as my Wikipedia research showed me, there are only 14 districts in Georgia. So once again, it's either our near future or it's an alternative version of our history. Also, in this moment when she's saying like you cannot become a congressman unless you served, nobody is being like forced to the Congress. As far as I know, and obviously I'm not American, but I still like know something about American politics, you can become a congressman even if you didn't serve. It obviously helps a lot if you were in the military, but it's not a necessity right now. But it's something that can become a necessity in a couple of years or maybe in a couple of decades. So here she's also telling to him that he was studying an engineering in the University of Georgia, and Georgia, obviously the book that we have seen in season 1 about Georgia's adventures, so everything is happening in Georgia. And I think this is a very interesting moment because we have seen all of the silos, or at least I think all of the silos in the end of season 1. So if there are 50 actually or 51 silos, we have seen them in one location. And it kind of looked like right now, if we're comparing the image of Georgia right now to the post-apocalyptic Georgia we have seen in the end of season 1, it kind of looks similar, but once again, so as many different cities in United States with a lot of skyscrapers and so on and so on. Still, there's probably a connection. Does it mean that all of the silos are in Georgia? And if yes, does it mean that there's absolutely no life around Georgia? Or maybe it means something completely else. Maybe it means that there is a lot of life, the regular, completely, mundane life in every other state, in every other country. And only this place is being the epicenter of this post-apocalyptic event, something that happened, whether it's a dirty bomb, whether it's a nuclear bomb, but maybe there's a lot of good, great life outside of Georgia. And I think it's more logical because we need to have some sort of a happy ending here. And in my mind, it can be only two different scenarios, or they're gonna be able to somehow stop something that kills people all around the world. They're gonna find an antidote or something like this, which sounds a little bit less plausible, or they're just gonna be able to move to a different area when there is a lot of green and there is water and there may be different people there, and they're just gonna start a new life there, stopping the whole silo experiment. And this looks like an experiment even more and more. I mean, he was studying engineering in the University of Georgia. He was studying engineering. I mean, come on, do I really have to break it down for you? He is an engineer. He was engineering silos. They all the same. They're all built by one person. We have seen it. They have almost the same passwords even for the vaults in a different silos. the structure is the same, the levels are the same, the IT is always on one level, the judicial is always in the 14 level, there's always the mechanical and the below levels. It's the same. There's one person, there's one mind behind it, and it's probably this guy, most likely this guy. So here, like, he's also talking about it in New Orleans. This is where he was working as an engineer, when she is like giving him like a friendly jab, like, you were in the military. Well, sort of, like, it's not like the engineering guys are running around with M16, and it's like, yeah, but we've done some amazing things in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is Louisiana. As far as I'm concerned, this is not Georgia. Okay, so he probably was stationed there. It was his base. So they were making something there. He was not stationed abroad. He was not in Iraq, Afghanistan, or any other place where US military was recently. And here we understand that there was a dirty bomb, or at least this is the official story. And we have seen already that the congressman himself is a bit skeptical when he's saying to the security guard, like, was it ever read? Maybe he's skeptical because he suspects something, or maybe he's skeptical because he knows that there's completely no radiation level and there was no dirty bomb. Here we understand the attack was supposedly on Washington DC. He's saying, like, who was affected, and he's saying that his sister is the only one who lives in DC and she was out of the town when it happened. So the attack supposedly was not on Georgia, it was on Washington DC. And here we have another sign that this is not our time. Once again, I told you, I'm a freaking dinosaur. I'm 37 years old. For Zoomers and Xers and so on, for you, I'm a freaking old guy. Yeah, but still I think people, even young people, are using the term date. It's not outdated. Sorry for the pun. And here she's like laughing and he's laughing, like, who, like, unless you're 95, you're not even using the word date. So yeah, nobody's using the term anymore unless you're 95. So once again, it's something that we can probably fast forward like 30, 40 years, and it's gonna be 2050 or 2060, something like this. This is where it happens. He is the bulldog, she is the duck. Like, bulldog, this is the mascot of the University of Georgia, and Georgia is a very important place, and she's a duck because she is from University of Oregon, and probably, like, her being an actress that I was able to recognize from the first glimpse, we're probably gonna see her again in season 3. And I think even in this moment, the whole conversation between them presenting like it was supposed to be a date, he was thinking it's a date, but it's actually a conversation with the journalist, I think they're gonna hook up eventually, and they're gonna be a couple, because there's gonna be a couple of more moments about it. Anyway, moving back to the bomb, like the official version that Iran basically attacked with a radioactive weapon, and once again we can with 100,000% certainty say that this is a lie. There is no way that a Hollywood TV show will present Iran as a bad guy. We know that the Hollywood is basically fascinated with Al-Qaeda, with Iran, with all of the terrorist state, and you know, just a small fact that women are being tortured and killed for not wearing like a hat cover there, it's just a bit of the culture. What you gonna do about it? So there is absolutely no chance that Iran actually launched a nuclear or radioactive bomb on US territory in this TV show. Now you may ask, like, how it is even possible? Like, you cannot lie to people. Like, if there's gonna be a nuclear attack, people are gonna notice, and they're gonna notice if there isn't a nuclear attack. But there's also something that's called radiological weapon. This is basically doesn't have the same explosion, it doesn't have the same effect as a nuclear weapon, it doesn't have the same level of destruction, of immediate destruction, but it creates a huge level of radiation which eventually will start killing people. So whether it happened or not, we still don't know. Maybe it's a fallout situation here, like, you know, in the TV show. I'm not gonna spoil it to you if you haven't seen it, but if you know, you know. Here we can see, like, once again the home state, and he brought her a gift, and she's talking about the home state, and she's talking about the peaches, and we have seen the peach in the intro, and once again Georgia is being called the state of peaches. So yeah, it happening in Georgia. We can see all of the silos in Georgia. I think once again it's something we can say with a very high level of certainty. And he gives her the duck, the toy duck, that was very important in season 1. So this toy duck eventually, I mean, it's suggested that this is this toy duck because this is her mascot of her, state, of her university, whatever. But since it's shown to us, it kind of implies that this is the same toy duck that we have seen in the silo. So if it was able to find its place, to find its way to the silo, it means we're gonna see her again. She's gonna be part of this process. She's gonna be part of creating the silos. And this is why I think they're gonna hook up eventually and gonna become a couple. Now, thank you so much for listening. I know it's already a very long video. This is usually what happens with season finales. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to cover. And I kind of left a little small details until the end. This is for the crazies of us that want to see every little detail, because in this channel, we don't have detail little enough to not be covered, to not to be mentioned. So I'm gonna end this video with small tiny details that we usually present in the beginning, and that's it. This is gonna be the end of the video. So what do we have here? We have the poster with the people around themselves, like this is the symbol of the silo, but it creates an eye here. So this is once again a hint that you're being watched here every second of your time. We have the Sound of Nature by John Ward. Once again, another artifact from our lifetime. We can see it here. We see pictures here, and only people that watched my From videos are gonna be able, why I was a little bit giggleish in this moment. I mean, the canned peaches are following me everywhere. Here we can see another, the hallways, like a sign, the hallways have to be clean. Once again, a lot of detail, a lot of thought about creating this place to make it as alive as possible. Here, as I told you, we can see behind Solo a seashell. Once again, it's the biggest, mainest symbol of the silo here. And here behind Hope, we can see that there are a lot of drawings, like on Solo's sleeve, on his father's sleeve, basically. Maybe he was drawing it by himself. There's a lot of like also lines. Maybe he was counting days or months or whatever. So interesting, also another interesting moment, which I thought kind of cute, that Bernard has a bag with his name on it, like BH. Bernard Holland, so he will know this is his bag, even though like it's in his place. So yeah, it was just cute. It kind of reminded me of a small little Bernard going to the school, like taking his backpack with his name, so everybody will know this is his. So this is it, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is not over, because while you're watching this video, I'm already probably working on my Severance Season 2 Episode 1 breakdown. I saw the episode already. It was a blast. There was a lot to cover. There's a lot to talk about it. I absolutely adore this show. I think it's going to be a great experience. So if you're looking for something more to talk about, to dive in, to really dive in, and to cover every little detail in trying to understand how this amazing world actually works, like we did in Silo for 9 weeks, we're gonna do something very similar with Severance. So if you still didn't subscribe, this is your time. And if you want to support this channel in any way, shape or form, feel free to do it. But if you don't, it's okay. It's still amazing. The best thing you can do is watch my videos. This is why I do them. Everything else is just a bonus. So I'm gonna see you on the next one. Bye!